I I don't even know if I'm posting this in the right place. My hands are shaking so bad right now that I'm having to dictate part of this and type the rest. The autocorrect is probably going to be a mess. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Here is the context. You need the context to understand the level of absolute evil I am currently staring at. My dad was my best friend. He was the only person in this world who truly got me. My bio mom passed away when I was 4, so it was just the two of us against the world for a long time. He was a self-made man, started a logistics company in the 90s, worked 80-hour weeks, built a comfortable life from nothing. He was stoic, kind, and incredibly protective. Then came Linda. He met Linda when I was 14. I tried to like her. I really did. But from day one, there was this coldness. She came with a son, Brad, who was 12 at the time. Brad was the golden child. If Brad got a C on a test, it was the teacher's fault. If I got an A, it was expected. Linda never worked a day in the 12 years she was married to my dad. She liked the country club memberships, the Lexus, the vacations to Cabo. She tolerated me because I was part of the package, but as soon as I turned 18, she started the subtle campaign to push me out. "Oh, OP, don't you think it's time you found your own apartment? Your father and I need our privacy." "Oh, OP, we can't help you with tuition this semester. Brad needs a new car for college." Dad was blind to a lot of it. Or maybe he just wanted peace. He was a conflict-avoidant man. He loved her, for reasons I never understood. Maybe he just didn't want to be alone. Fast forward to last Tuesday. Dad had a massive heart attack while at his desk. Massive. He was gone before he hit the floor. I didn't get to say goodbye. I've spent the last 72 hours in a fog of dissociation. Planning the funeral, calling relatives, picking out a casket. Linda has been too distraught to handle any of it. She's been locked in her bedroom with a bottle of Chardonnay, or so she claimed. Brad has been supporting his mother, which apparently involves playing PS5 in the living room while I sit at the dining table sobbing over obituary drafts. But here is where it turns into a nightmare. This morning, I realized I needed a specific tie of my dad's. It was his favorite, a hideous blue paisley thing he wore to my college graduation. I wanted him to be buried in it. I have a key to their house, obviously. I drove over around 10 a.m. Linda and Brad's cars were in the driveway. I let myself in quietly. I didn't want to disturb the grieving widow. I was about to call out, just to let them know I was there, when I heard voices coming from Dad's home office. The door was cracked open about an inch. I froze. It was Linda. She wasn't crying. Her voice wasn't slurred from wine. She sounded sharp, calculating. "I don't care what the bank said, Brad. We need to move the liquid cash into the joint account today. Once the death certificate is officially filed with the county, they might freeze the individual assets." My stomach dropped through the floor. I pressed myself against the wall, holding my breath so hard my chest hurt. Brad's voice mumbled back, "But Mom, what if sees? Isn't she gonna know?" "She's a child," Linda scoffed. "She's too busy crying over old photos. Besides, she thinks the life insurance is the only big payout. She doesn't know about the Vanguard accounts." "She doesn't know about the Vanguard accounts? What about the house?" Brad asked. "I called the realtor my friend Susan used. She's coming over at 2 p.m. for a walkthrough. If we list it under market value for a cash offer, we can dump it before probate even starts. We take the cash, I move to Florida to grieve, and we're done. Possession is 9/10 of the law, honey. And OP? She can have the scrapbooks," Linda said. I could hear the smirk in her voice. "And whatever junk is in the storage unit." I wanted to kick the door open. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her by her expensive hair extensions and drag her out of my father's house. But I didn't, because I am my father's daughter, and I work in forensic data analysis. I backed away. I crept backward down the hallway, step by silent step, until I was at the front door. I opened it and slammed it shut, yelling, "Linda? Brad? I'm here to get Dad's tie." I walked into the kitchen. Linda came out of the office a second later, dabbing her dry eyes with a tissue, putting on the performance of a lifetime. "Oh, sweetie," she crooned, reaching out to hug me. I let her hug me. It felt like being hugged by a snake. "I was just going through your father's papers, trying to make sense of the bills." "You're so strong, Linda," I said. My voice sounded robotic. I just need the tie. I got the tie. I left. As soon as I got to my car, I drove 2 blocks away, parked, and opened my laptop. Here is what Linda and Brad don't know. 3 years ago, Dad had a health scare. He sat me down and said, "If anything happens to me, I don't want you fighting for scraps." He made me the sole executor of his estate. He put the house in a trust, with me as the trustee, specifically to prevent Linda from selling it out from under us if they divorced. Linda has a right to live there for 1 year after his death, but she does not own it. And the passwords? Dad was terrible with technology. He used the same 3 variations for everything. And because I set up his LastPass, I have access to everything. I logged in. 10:15 a.m. Attempted transfer of $45,000 from Dad's personal savings to Linda's checking. Status? Pending. 10:30 a.m. Email sent from Dad's iPad to a local realtor. Subject line: urgent sale, cash only. They are trying to loot the estate before the body is even in the ground. They are trying to steal my inheritance, my childhood home, and everything my father worked for, assuming I'm too grief-stricken to notice. I called the bank immediately. I informed the fraud department that the account holder is deceased as of Tuesday and that unauthorized access is occurring right now. They froze everything, instantly. Then I called the estate attorney. He's Dad's old golf buddy. When I told him what I heard, he went quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Do not say a word to them. Let them dig the hole. Bring me everything." So here I am, sitting in my car. The funeral is tomorrow. Linda thinks she's about to be a wealthy widow living it up in Florida. Brad thinks he's getting a free ride. They have no idea that I've locked them out of the accounts. They have no idea the house isn't theirs to sell. They have no idea I have an audio recording on my phone of their entire conversation because I started recording the second I heard voices. I have to go back there tomorrow for the service. I have to sit next to her in the front row. I have to listen to her give a eulogy about how much she loved him. I feel sick. I feel rage. But mostly, I feel cold. If they want a war, I'm going to give them a nuclear winter. I need advice on how to handle the next 48 hours without tipping my hand. Do I let the realtor show up? Do I tell them the accounts are frozen? Or do I wait until the will reading on Monday to drop the hammer? Reddit, help me keep it together. Time passed since last post. 4 days. I am currently sitting in the lobby of my father's estate attorney's office. The reception area smells like old leather and lemon pledge. My hands are shaking again, but this time, it's not from grief. It's from adrenaline. Pure, unadulterated adrenaline. Linda and Brad are in the parking lot. I saw them pull up in my dad's Lexus, which Linda is driving like she owns it. She has no idea what is waiting for her in that conference room. But before we get to the main event, I need to tell you what the last 4 days have been like. If you thought the original post was bad, buckle up. These people are monsters. The funeral. The service was held on Friday. It was a gray, miserable day, raining sideways, the kind of weather that seeps into your bones. I wore the blue paisley tie. I tied it around my neck like a scarf over my black dress. It looked ridiculous, but I didn't care. It smelled like his cologne, Old Spice and tobacco. Linda showed up 20 minutes late. She walked in wearing a dress that was inappropriate, tight, short, with a neckline that plunged way too deep for a funeral. And she was wearing black sequins. Sequins, like she was going to a cocktail party at the Grieving Club. Brad trailed behind her, wearing a wrinkled button-down and, I kid you not, jeans. He was texting. He didn't even look up at the casket. When it was time for the eulogies, I went first. I couldn't even look at them. I spoke about Dad's work ethic, his love for building model ships, the way he taught me to drive in that beat-up Ford truck. I cried the whole time. Real, ugly tears. Then Linda went up. "Oh, my Harold. He was my soulmate, my rock. We had a love that people only dream of." She squeezed out a few fake tears, dabbing them with a lace handkerchief she definitely bought just for the aesthetic. She talked for 15 minutes. 10 of those minutes were about herself. How hard it was for her to manage his schedule. How much she sacrificed to take care of him by hiring nurses. She didn't mention me once. She barely mentioned Dad as a person, just as an object that loved her. After the service, we went back to the house for the wake. This is where things went from disrespectful to criminally insane. The friend. Around 2 p.m., The house was full of Dad's old business partners and distant relatives. People were eating deviled eggs and drinking bad coffee. I was in the kitchen washing mugs when the doorbell rang. Linda practically sprinted to the door. In walked a woman in a sharp beige power suit, holding a leather portfolio. "Everyone," Linda announced, her voice booming. "This is Susan, a very dear friend of mine. She's just here to pay her respects." Guys, it was the realtor. I recognized her voice from the audio recording. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen, holding a dirty saucer, watching this absolute farce. Susan didn't act like a griever. She had shark eyes. She was scanning the room, looking at the crown molding, looking at the hardwood floors. Linda pulled her into the corner of the living room, my dead father's living room, while his body was still cooling in the ground, and they started whispering. I casually maneuvered my way through the crowd, pretending to offer napkins to guests until I was just on the other side of a bookshelf. "The bones are good," Susan whispered, "but the furniture has to go, especially that hideous leather recliner. It dates the room." "I can have it on the curb by Monday," Linda replied. That was Dad's chair, the chair he sat in every single night to watch Jeopardy, the chair where he held me when I had my first heartbreak. "What about the stepdaughter?" Susan asked. "Don't worry about her," Linda said, taking a sip of wine. "She's a mousy little thing. She's moving out of state soon anyway. I have a job in the city 20 minutes away. I am not moving. We just need to get the quick deeds sorted. Once the cash hits, I'm out." I had to walk away. If I had stayed there 1 second longer, I would have thrown a platter of cold cuts at her head. I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and texted the lawyer, Mr. Henderson. Me. They are doing a walkthrough during the wake. She plans to throw his chair away on Monday. Mr. Henderson, do not intervene. Let them list it. The more they do, the deeper they bury themselves. Monday, 10 a.m. Be ready. The weekend. The trap. Saturday and Sunday were a masterclass in gaslighting. I spent the weekend at the house, ostensibly to help sort through papers. In reality, I was securing valuables. I found Dad's watch collection and moved it into my trunk under a pile of blankets. I took the photo albums. Linda and Brad were manic. They were practically vibrating with greed. Saturday morning, Linda stormed into the kitchen while I was making coffee. She looked pale. "The debit card isn't working," she snapped. "I tried to order brunch. It was declined." Here we go. I took a slow sip of my coffee. "Oh? That's weird. Maybe the bank's fraud detection system flagged it. Since, Dad died." "Well, fix it," she yelled. "You know all his passwords. Log in and unlock it." I looked at her with my best wide-eyed, innocent doe impression. "I can't, Linda. I don't know the passwords to his personal checking. He changed them all last month, remember? He said he was worried about cybersecurity. He never said that. I have the password. It's lollipop1962. That's ridiculous." She started pacing. "I have bills to pay. I have to pay the landscapers." She meant the realtor staging fees, I'm sure. "Maybe you should go to the bank on Monday?" I suggested helpfully. "They can probably explain the probate process." "I don't need probate," she screeched. "I'm his wife. It's my money." She stormed off to call Brad. I heard him yelling from his room. "Mom, my card is dead too. I can't buy the battle pass." The battle pass. My father worked 40 years in logistics so his adult stepson could cry about a video game skin. The confrontation. Almost. Yesterday, Sunday, was the hardest part. I was packing up some of Dad's books in the study. Linda walked in. She had a glass of wine at 11 a.m. and a smug look on her face. "OP," she said, leaning against the doorframe. "Brad and I were talking. We think it's best if you take your things and go home today. We need space to grieve properly. You can come back in a few weeks." "A few weeks?" I asked. "Yes, we're going to be doing some renovations, painting, brightening the place up. It's too depressing in here." She was kicking me out so they could stage the house. "Okay, Linda," I said softly. "I understand. I'll get out of your hair." Her eyes lit up. She thought she had won. She thought I was rolling over. "Good girl," she said. "Oh, and leave your key on the counter. We're changing the locks tomorrow, just for safety." I left my key on the counter. I know the code to the garage keypad, and I know that the locks aren't being changed tomorrow because the locksmith isn't going to take a check from a frozen account. Today. Which brings us to right now. Mr. Henderson just poked his head out. "They're here." I can see them through the glass partition. Linda is wearing the same black sequin dress. Classy. Brad is wearing a suit that is 2 sizes too big. They are laughing. Linda is holding a Starbucks cup. They think they are walking in here to sign a few papers and get a check for $2 million. They think I am going to sit there and cry while they take everything. I have a folder in my bag. Inside is the trust documents proving I own the house, the printouts of the attempted $45,000 transfer, the email to the realtor, the transcription of the audio recording where they conspired to hide assets. Mr. Henderson said the goal today isn't just to read the will, it's to inform them of their limited standing. I'm going to put my phone away now. I'm going to walk into that room, and I'm going to watch the color drain from her face. This is for you, Dad. You picked the wrong family to steal from, Linda. Time passed since last update. 3 weeks. If you are listening to this, I hope you have popcorn, because oh my God, the nuclear winter I promised? It arrived, and it was radioactive. The last 3 weeks have been a blur of lawyers, police cruisers, and the glorious screeching sound of a narcissist hitting a brick wall at 100 miles an hour. Let's go back to that meeting at the attorney's office. The one I left you hanging on. The meeting. The find out phase. I walked into the conference room. Linda and Brad were already seated. Linda had her feet, her shod feet, up on the rung of the mahogany chair next to her. She didn't even look at me when I entered. She just continued scrolling on her phone. Finally, she muttered. Can we wrap this up? I have a stager coming at noon. Mr. Henderson, the attorney, walked in. He didn't sit. He stood at the head of the table, opened a thick file, and adjusted his glasses. Mrs. Brad, he began, his voice ice cold. Before we read the will, we need to address the current state of the assets. Linda waved a hand dismissively. Oh, the accounts are frozen, we know. Just unfreeze them so I can transfer the funds. The accounts are frozen, Mr. Henderson said, because of a flagged fraudulent transfer attempt of $45,000 initiated 3 hours after my client's death. Linda froze. Her eyes darted to Brad. Brad suddenly found the grain of the wood table fascinating. That was a misunderstanding, Linda stammered. I was confused. It was a felony, Mr. Henderson corrected. But we are willing to overlook criminal charges if you comply fully with the terms of the trust. Trust? Linda shrieked. What trust? The house, Henderson said, sliding a document across the table, was placed in an irrevocable trust in 2021, is the sole trustee. You, Linda, have a life estate interest. This means you are permitted to reside in the property for exactly 12 months, provided you pay all utilities, taxes, and maintain the property in its current condition. I don't own the house? Linda whispered. No, you do not, and you certainly cannot sell it. The realtor you contacted has been issued a cease and desist order regarding the listing. Then came the kicker. Furthermore, Henderson continued, the bulk of the liquid assets, the Vanguard accounts, the stocks, were also moved into the trust. The life insurance policy listed you as the beneficiary, Linda. It pays out $50,000. $50,000, she screamed, standing up and slamming her hands on the table. He was worth millions. That doesn't even cover my credit card debt. Then I suggest you get a job, I said. It was the first thing I'd said all meeting. She lunged at me. Actually lunged. Brad had to grab her arm. You little witch, she spat. You manipulated him. I'll sue. I'll contest the will. Go ahead, Henderson said calmly. But if you contest, the no contest clause in the will triggers, and you lose the $50,000. Also, if you damage the house, your right to reside there terminates immediately. Immediate eviction. She stormed out. Brad followed, looking like a kicked puppy who just realized the gravy train had derailed. I thought that was it. I thought I had won. I was wrong. Never underestimate the destructive power of a cornered rat. The escalation. For 2 weeks, it was quiet. Too quiet. I monitored the accounts. Nothing. I drove by the house. Her car was there. The lights were on. Then, 3 days ago, on Saturday, I got a call from Mrs. Higgins next door. She's 80 years old and sees everything. Honey, she whispered into the phone. Opie, there are a lot of cars on the lawn, and I think Linda is selling your father's tools. I didn't even hang up. I threw my phone in the passenger seat and drove. I broke at least 4 traffic laws getting there. The yard sale. When I pulled up, it was chaos. There were about 30 people milling around the driveway. Tables were set up, and on those tables were my life. My dad's tool chest, Snap-on, worth thousands, was sitting there with a piece of masking tape on it. $100. His fishing gear, the boxes of books I hadn't packed yet. And there, sitting near the garage door, was the blue leather recliner. Price tag, $50. I saw red. I didn't see color. I saw pure, violent red. I slammed my car into park in the middle of the street, blocking traffic. I got out and marched up the driveway. "Get off the property!" I screamed at a random guy holding my dad's drill. "This is stolen property! Put it down!" The guy dropped the drill and backed away. Linda came out of the garage. She was holding a cash box. She looked manic. Her hair was messy. She was wearing sweatpants and she had a cigarette in her mouth. She didn't smoke. "Get out of here!" she yelled at me. "I'm clearing out the junk. I have the right to tidy up." "You are selling asset inventory," I shouted. "Where are the model ships, Linda? Where are the ships?" She smirked. A vile, ugly smirk. "Oh, those dusty old things? Someone bought the lot for $20 an hour ago." My dad spent 20 years building those ships. Thousands of hours. They were masterpieces. $20. I pulled out my phone. I didn't call the lawyer. I called 911. "I need officers at address immediately. There is a burglary in progress." The perpetrator is known to the victim. The police intervention. The police arrived in 5 minutes. 2 cruisers. Linda tried to play the grieving widow card again. She started crying instantly. "Officer, please! My stepdaughter is harassing me. I'm just trying to pay for my husband's funeral. She's abusive." The officer, a stern-looking guy named Officer Miller, looked at me. "Ma'am, is this your property?" I handed him the trust documents I kept in my glove box. "I am the owner of this property. This woman is a tenant with a life estate. She is currently selling assets that belong to the estate, which is theft. She is also damaging the property." I pointed to the garage. Brad had been trying to drag Dad's heavy workbench out. In the process, he had gouged a massive hole in the drywall and ripped the door frame off. Officer Miller looked at the papers. He looked at the price tag on the recliner. He looked at the cash box in Linda's hand. "Ma'am," he said to Linda, "you need to return that money to the buyers. The sale is over." "You can't do this!" Linda shrieked. She threw the cash box on the ground. "It's my house! I live here!" "You live here," Officer Miller said, "but you can't sell things that aren't yours. That's theft. Now, we can handle this civilly, or I can arrest you for larceny. Stepdaughter says the tools alone are worth $5 grand. That's a felony." Linda went pale. She started screaming at the people on the lawn. "Go! Just go! Get out!" The discovery. Once the yard cleared out, Officer Miller escorted me inside to assess damages. I wish I hadn't gone inside. The house smelled like garbage. There were pizza boxes everywhere, wine stains on the carpet. But the worst part was the office. My dad's office. She had renovated, by which I mean she had painted over his mahogany wainscoting with cheap white latex paint. She didn't even sand it. It was peeling, and she had thrown out his files, not shredded them, thrown them in black trash bags piled in the corner. I found the ships. She lied. She hadn't sold them. They were in the trash bags. Smashed. Masts broken. Sails torn. Hulls crushed. She had stomped on them. She didn't sell them. She broke them because she knew I loved them. It was pure spite. I walked out to the driveway, holding a piece of the HMS Victory model my dad finished the year I graduated high school. I showed it to Officer Miller. "Destruction of property," I said, my voice dead flat. "Malicious destruction of property. The eviction." I called Mr. Henderson on speakerphone right there in front of the cops. "She destroyed the assets," I told him, "and she damaged the structure of the house moving furniture." "That violates the life estate agreement," Henderson said. His voice was booming. "The tenancy is terminated effective immediately. She is now a trespasser." Officer Miller nodded. "If the tenancy is void, I can remove her." Linda realized what was happening. She didn't fight. She didn't scream. She went limp. Literally limp. She sank to the driveway and started wailing. "I have nowhere to go! You can't do this to me! Brad, do something!" Brad, useless as ever, was sitting on the curb texting. "Mom, can we go to Grandma's?" "Grandma's in a home!" Linda shrieked. Officer Miller gave them 1 hour. 1 hour to pack their personal effects, clothes and toiletries only, and vacate the premises. I stood there and watched. I watched her stuff trash bags with her sequins. I watched Brad unplug his PS5. I watched them load up the Lexus. As she got into the car, she rolled down the window. "You'll rot in hell for this," she hissed. "He loved me. He hated you. He knew exactly who you were," I replied. "That's why he signed the trust." They drove off. I changed the locks 20 minutes later. The locksmith was actually one of the people who had stopped at the yard sale, realized what was happening, and waited to help me. I am now sitting in the living room. It's empty. The recliner is back inside, but the leather is scratched. I'm holding the broken mast of the ship. It's quiet, but they aren't done. I just got a notification on my phone. Brad has started a GoFundMe. Title: Evil Stepsister Kicks Grieving Widow to the Streets. Help us sue. It already has $500. And I just found a letter in the mail pile they left behind. It's from a lawyer, not ours. Linda is suing the estate for spousal support and undue influence. She wants a war? I still have the audio recording of her planning to hide the money. I haven't released it yet. I think it's time to go public. Time passed since last update. 14 months. It is finished. I'm sitting on the back porch of my father's house. My house. The sun is setting, casting that golden hour light over the garden that Linda used to neglect. It's blooming now. Hydrangeas, mostly. Dad loved hydrangeas. I'm drinking tea from one of the mugs I saved from the yard sale. The blue leather recliner is inside. I found a leather specialist who managed to buff out the scratches, though you can still see the scars if you look closely. I like the scars. They remind me of what survived. A lot of you have been messaging me, asking for the ending. You wanted to know if the nuclear winter I promised actually happened. Oh, it happened. And the fallout was spectacular. Let's rewind to where we left off. The GoFundMe and the lawsuit. The GoFundMe, the public execution. Within 48 hours of me kicking them out, their Poor Widow campaign had raised nearly $3,000. Linda was spinning a narrative on Facebook that I was a mental patient who had tricked my senile father into signing everything over to me, leaving her destitute. People were eating it up. Neighbors were giving me side-eye. Even a local church group reached out to offer her temporary housing. I didn't argue. I didn't comment. I just uploaded a file. I created a simple YouTube video. Black screen, white text. The truth about the grieving widow. And I played the audio recording. The audio of her plotting to drain the accounts before his body was cold. The audio of her calling me a mousy little thing. The audio of her laughing about selling the house for cash to avoid probate. I posted the link directly into the comment section of her GoFundMe. I posted it on the community Facebook page where she was garnering sympathy. I sent it to every single person who donated. The reaction was instant. The GoFundMe was reported for fraud so many times that the platform froze the funds and refunded the donors within 6 hours. The comment section turned into a shark tank. People she had known for years, the ladies who lunch, turned on her. "Linda, you said you were at the hospital when he died. You were at the bank? You tried to sell his house the day after the funeral?" She deleted her Facebook profile that night. The silence was deafening. The lawsuit. The courtroom drama. But she didn't give up on the money. Oh no. The lawsuit for undue influence and spousal support went forward. She found a lawyer who worked on contingency. Bad idea for him. 6 months ago, we finally made it to mediation. I walked in with Mr. Henderson. Linda walked in looking different. She had ditched the sequins. She was wearing a modest, fraying cardigan and no makeup. She was trying to look like a frail, broken woman. Brad wasn't there. Apparently, he couldn't get time off from his new reality. More on that later. Her lawyer started his speech. "My client is destitute. She was accustomed to a certain lifestyle. The stepdaughter used her father's diminished mental state to coerce him into a trust that disenfranchised his loving wife. Mr. Henderson didn't say a word. He just placed a thick binder on the table, and then he placed an iPad on top of it. "Your Honor," Henderson said to the mediator, a retired judge who looked like he wanted to be anywhere else, "we would like to submit Exhibit A, the audio recording of the plaintiff discussing the theft of estate assets prior to the reading of the will, and Exhibit B, the police report from the incident where the plaintiff maliciously destroyed estate property, specifically the model ships." We played the tape again. In that small, quiet conference room, Linda's voice sounded even more shrill, even more cruel. She thinks the life insurance is the only big payout. She doesn't know about the Vanguard accounts. I watched her lawyer's face. He physically recoiled. He looked at Linda, then at the iPad, then back at Linda. He realized right then that he wasn't getting paid. The mediator took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Mrs. the mediator said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You are arguing undue influence. Yet, this recording demonstrates you were perfectly aware of the estate's value and were actively conspiring to defraud it. If this goes to trial, you will lose, and you will likely be charged with perjury if you repeat these claims under oath." The settlement was brutal. Linda got nothing. Actually, less than nothing. Because of the no contest clause I mentioned in Update 1, by filing the lawsuit, she officially contested the will. The $50,000 life insurance policy she was supposed to get? Forfeited. It went back into the estate to cover my legal fees. She walked out of that room with $0. I saw her in the parking lot afterwards. She was screaming at her lawyer. He got in his car and drove off, leaving her standing there. Where they are now. Brad. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that Brad is living in a shared apartment with 3 other guys near the industrial district. He works at an Amazon fulfillment center. The irony isn't lost on me. My dad started in logistics. Now Brad is moving boxes, sweating for every dollar, just like Dad did in the beginning. He blocked me on everything, but I see he sold his PS5 on Marketplace a few months ago. Welcome to the real world, Brad. This is the best part. She didn't move to Florida. She couldn't afford it. She's living in a small 1-bedroom apartment across town. I saw her. I didn't mean to, but I was at the mall last month getting a gift for a friend. I walked past the department store cosmetics counter. There she was. She was wearing the uniform, a black smock. She was applying lipstick to a customer, putting on that fake customer service smile. She looked tired. Her Botox had worn off. Her roots were showing. She looked ordinary. She saw me. Our eyes locked for a second. I didn't smirk. I didn't wave. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a reaction. I just adjusted the blue paisley tie I had tied to the handle of my purse, and I kept walking. The ships. The model ships she smashed? I couldn't fix all of them. The HMS Victory was too far gone, but I found a restoration expert in the city who specializes in antique models. He spent 4 months working on the Cutty Sark. He used the wood from the smashed Victory to patch the hull of the Cutty Sark. So, in a way, they are both still here. It sits on the mantle now, right where Dad put it. Conclusion. The house is quiet, but it's a good quiet. It's not empty anymore. I found Dad's old stash of cigars in the humidor she tried to throw out. Tonight, on the anniversary of the day I kicked them out, I'm going to light one. I don't smoke, but I'm going to light it. Let the smoke fill the air and smell that smell one last time. Dad knew. He knew she was a shark. He knew Brad was lazy. He stayed because he was lonely, maybe. Or maybe he stayed to keep an eye on them so they couldn't destroy me. He spent the last 3 years of his life secretly moving pieces on the chessboard so that when he fell, I would be the queen. He protected me from the grave. To anyone going through this, document everything. Record everything. Cry later. And never, ever let them take the paisley tie. This is OP, signing off. Case closed. Whew.